won both of their game ones against Phoenix and Denver. The Mavs have lost both of their game ones against the Clippers and OKC, but they meet tonight. So who is game one more important for?
Well, definitely Minnesota.
Oh, wow. We agree.
No question. I mean, first of all, you're at home.
Yep.
All right. Secondly, I don't even know what the favorite are. They should be the favorite in the series.
By 4.5.
But in the series, yeah.
Yes.
So they're the favorite in the series. All right, I would think whether I know the numbers or not, they should be the favorites, right? And then, Dallas 0-5 in game ones under Jason Kidd. That's their last 5 game ones. They come back to win 4 of those series. So if Dallas loses, they're going to be fine. Now, all that said, Nick, and I think you guys have to agree with this, Minnesota's shown it. If they lose tonight, I think you'd be crazy to write them off.
I totally
agree. I mean, they
agree.
showed you against Denver, like, they are not into negative momentum. They will not succumb to negative momentum. So if Dallas were to win the first 2, I don't think you could just say it's over because we saw what they did against Denver. It would be somewhat bleak. I mean, obviously they'd have everything going for them.
Yeah.
But still, this team, who would have thought they would have come back from down 3-2?
Sure.
All right, so, but all that said, yeah, it's more important for us.
Yeah, I think the reasons you said is why I agree. Luka loses game 1, man. Even pre-J Kidd. I think Luka's won. There's been one series the Mavs have won game 1 since he's been there, and it's the game 1 he missed. I think that's accurate. Wow. When he was out injured against Utah.
Brunson.
Right, and Brunson played great. Typically, they don't win game 1. Minnesota's at home, and this is where, like, there was a really dumb meme going around the internet yesterday, which was a picture of Kyrie and LeBron and a picture of Kyrie and Luka. And it was like, Kyrie didn't want to follow him, but is fine following him. I wonder what changed. And the answer is 7 years, man.
Were they trying to make that racial?
I have no idea what they were trying to make it. Whatever it was stupid. But the point is, the guy grew up. And Kyrie Irving is a different person than he was 7 years ago. I think he's a different person than he was 2 years ago. And so the reason I say that's for this. I don't think Kyrie's going to let them get emotionally unsettled by a loss. I think Kyrie Irving is the steady hand of this team. And it is, I have been as vocal of a Kyrie critic of his, post-Cavs journey as anybody. I am the one who last year picked the Mavs to win the title, and then when they...
Kyrie Irving, the steady hand, Mr. No-Show, the guy who's got the weakest mind, arguably, of any superstar in the NBA, is the steady hand. The guy that whenever you want to criticize or talk about it, he tries to play the shell game and change the topic and wants to talk about something that's going on in South Africa or wherever in the world. Rather talk about what's going on in Mars. If you say, Kyrie, your team's not doing too good and you haven't been playing too well, what can you do to get better? Well, we have to really focus on the cobalt mining and what about all of the kids who are starving? So acting like he's a calm presence and that he's a guiding light, save it with that absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And you know what's really funny about Nick Wright? You tell me what has changed. Why he defends Kyrie Irving for being just as out there, let's say, but Aaron Rodgers, who is just as out there as well, at least politically and culturally, yet he rips Aaron Rodgers again and again and again and says that it's distracting. And just yesterday, I did the video where he talked about where, you wouldn't want someone to paint your house or a carpenter who talks like Aaron. So why would you want him to be the quarterback? And yet here we have Kyrie Irving, who is very similar in that regard, being controversial politically, and yet doesn't seem to have the same negative connotation as Aaron Rodgers. Now you tell me, what's different? I wonder. I don't know. Maybe you guys can figure it out.
They got Kyrie said, well, now they can't because I thought he was so antithetical to winning. He has been a great leader this year, and because Luka is so emotionally combustible, I think he is a great wingman for that for the other players on the team. And so I'm not worried about if the Mavs lose game one.
The guy who like flips fingers to the crowd in the middle of a game, in the middle of a playoff game, Kyrie Irving, who's literally like making faces and flipping people off in the middle of a playoff game, in a close, tight playoff game. That Kyrie Irving? Okay, sure.
Where their head's going to be at, because Kyrie is
who also got in a fight with OKC Thunder fans this last series. That Kyrie Irving? Okay.
Going to be able to credibly talk about being down 3-1, talk about the length of the series, those things. So that's where I think it's definitely more important for Minnesota, and to make it clear that they didn't just win their championship. The thing with Minnesota is you're always worried when you have that huge victory that a lot of people thought was impossible, that no one could beat them in a 7-game series, all those things, that they don't have a championship letdown because it's not.
No,
you're also dead wrong, because Minnesota never thought it was impossible. In fact, they thought it was quite possible. They believe that they have a championship roster team, because they do. So just because Nick doubted that doesn't mean they doubted that. They're pumped. As soon as the Timberwolves won that series, did you see the clip? You know what Ant said? As soon as the game was over, as soon as the buzzer went off and it was game over, and Jokic didn't like it. And I didn't love what Ant did, how he was like waving to the crowd. That's not me. I'm not a big fan of that. And so I'll be consistent, even for a player that I like. I don't like that. I call out Luka. I call out all these guys for that. I'll be consistent in that. But then he immediately said 8 more games. 8 more. I think he just said 8 more. 8 more. Meaning 8 more wins. 8 more wins title. So he wasn't just celebrating, we beat the Nuggets, and they were having champagne showers there. So no, that's not. They are focused. They are ready. So this idea that was their championship, man, get out of here. You are the one that's celebrating Luka for getting to another Western Conference Finals, acting like it's equivalent to getting to a Super Bowl here. So just save it. I know Joe in the comments is going to be like, you're so biased, you're so biased. Bro, I'm only speaking reality. I'm only speaking the truth right now. I'm only speaking what's 100% accurate. And if you want to talk about bias, look right there. That's bias.
What?
It's the moment of truth.
I'm not ready yet.
You won't do a pick?
I'm not ready yet.
When the series starts tonight.
This is you guys at the bar be like, hey man, you need to get back out there. Yeah. I'm not ready yet, guys. I'm not ready yet.
Well,
she's cute. Seriously, you'll like her.
I'm not ready.
You'll like her.
The Timberwolves are winning the championship.
Rodgers is back and focused at Jets practice.
Well, that was a short clip. Yeah, listen. I'm debating whether or not I want to like pick someone, or if I just want to answer the question of who's this game more important to. I think it's a dumb question. I understand just because a team has won in the past after losing game 1, that really doesn't mean anything. Guys, sports is not constant. It's not linear. What happens in the past is not a prediction of what happens in the future. If it was, then Patrick Mahomes will win the next 30 Super Bowls. Tom Brady would have won 30 Super Bowls. LeBron James would have won 30 championships. Steph Curry would just be making 400 threes every single season. So if you're forcing me to answer this question, I would say Dallas, because Dallas needs everything they can have against the series. They beat a young, immature OKC team, which I thought, to be very clear, I thought OKC was going to win that game, right, or that series, and they didn't. A mistake by SGA fouling, should have gone to game 7, and then who knows. But Dallas absolutely won that game. Luka grew up. He even admitted it. He even said that by him being less emotional and him stop carrying on with the refs helped him win games. That was his own words, and that was my biggest issue with Luka. I said that will hold him back, and it clearly was holding him back, which is why he changed. You only change when something is not serving you. So he changed. There you go. I feel pretty validated for that take. Again, if don't take my word for it, take Luka, the actual guy. He said it himself. And all that aside, though, they beat an injured, old Clippers without their main player, Kawhi Leonard. And when he did play, he was injured and couldn't do anything, couldn't even jump. I don't even think he finished the game. So not that impressive beating the Clippers. And then again, you beat this young OKC team, which I pointed out, I think it would be hard for someone as small as SGA to be able to really take over games in the playoffs and to really, impose his will, which also proved to be pretty accurate. A lot of people then came to me, hey, he's taller than you think. And when I'm saying small, I don't mean just height. I just mean physicality as well. You're not having that. You're having the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because what Nick said about the celebrating of beating Denver, that's what OKC did. They just would beat one game against Dallas, and they had the whole team there celebrating like, yeah, let's go. That's what we do. And they're barking. They're doing the whoop, 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 whoop. And when I saw that, I started being like, ugh, I don't know how good I feel about my take right. Like I was literally like, I'm happy, I'm happy for you guys. And I love that community aspect. I really do. But it's like, you guys are a little like too excited right now for just winning like a game against Dallas. Like there's a lot more to go, which is why, especially after watching the Denver versus Timberwolves, I said, whoever wins that series is going to win the championship. And especially now after watching the Celtics versus the Pacers, I believe that even more. Now, I did say also at the end, I forget when I said this, but I did say that I do think Dallas, even though I think the Timberwolves are better than Denver, I do think Dallas has a better chance to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in a 7-game series because Ant is still young. Cat is, as much as I think Cat is great, he gets himself into trouble, fouling, whatever it may be. Gobert is sometimes an offensive liability. Sometimes I think Minnesota has to do a good job of getting him involved offensively, getting him easy buckets. It helps keep the defense more honest. I think that matters. And then, hopefully Conley and some of these other guys who are maybe slightly banged up can actually stay healthy. But I think with some of those issues, I do trust Denver to a degree because Denver does have championship pedigree. They do know you do trust Jokic. I understand that they lost, but there is still a trust factor. There really is. I think a lot of people, even though they saw Minnesota win, if you now said Minnesota and Denver are going to play another 7-game series, I'm not so sure that people would automatically just pick Minnesota again. So there is that trust factor with Denver that Minnesota has to earn. The only way you get it is by winning. They have to earn it. They have to earn it. They have to prove that they could lose 2 games at home and now still come roaring back to a game 7. Minnesota hasn't proven that yet. So that's why I would lean towards Dallas having a better chance to beat Minnesota, even though I think Minnesota is indeed the better team compared to Denver. But with all that said, I do have the Minnesota Timberwolves winning this series because Dallas has not played a series against a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. They haven't played anyone like Ant, like Cat, like Gobert. 6-man Naz Reid. Coaching is on fire, making all the right calls, all the right adjustments, knowing exactly what to do. They made Jokic look pedestrian at times. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how amazing Jokic is? Luka is still going to get his numbers. Kyrie is still going to get his numbers. That's still going to happen. But it's going to be brutal. It's going to be hard. So I got Minnesota winning this series. I will absolutely be shocked. Shocked might be too strong of a word. But I will be very, very surprised if Dallas ends up winning this. It would be true. It would be on the back. There's only 2 ways that I see this happening. Outside of injuries. Injuries void everything, right? If someone like literally rolls an ankle, even if it's Conley or Gobert, that really kind of voids it. But if everyone's all healthy, relatively healthy speaking, because everyone is banged up at this point, but relatively healthy, the only way I see this going is if Minnesota just goes absolutely cold, right? They're just shooting like 15%, and they just can't buy a bucket. Ant just cannot knock down anything. Cat is went on a run now. In the last 3 games, he's 1 for 10 from the 3, which can happen. That's the issue with the make or miss league in the NBA. That can absolutely happen. But outside of that, the only other thing is if Luka truly just evolves and becomes transcendent. Like this is Luka's true coming out party. Because to be clear, I think Luka's an unbelievable player and will retire as one of the best players in NBA history. I think he is that great. He's effortless. My problem with Luka has always been his personality, which he is apparently changing. So that has always been my issue. But if Luka now takes that next step and goes on a tear and is averaging like 40, 45 points, and he's just putting this team on his back, then I could see. But other than that, I just don't see it. I really, really don't. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Mavericks or the Timberwolves are going to win this series? And who do you think game 1 is more important to? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.